Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to day one of the webinar on digital library technology. My name is Regina Duffy, and along with my colleague, Callie Stahl from Villanova University, we will be helping to facilitate the webinar and introduce speakers throughout the sessions today and tomorrow. Please note that this two-day event will be recorded and will soon be available on the VuFind website. All attendees will be muted. We will be monitoring feedback, so please feel free to comment in the live chat or ask questions using the Q&A feature found at the bottom of your screen. A brief facilitated Q&A session will take place after each presentation. And first, I'd like to introduce our reporter, Ms. Kasang Dechen. She is Head Library Research and Documentation Center and Lecturer, Royal Institute of Management, Bhutan. Now I invite my colleague, Mr. Damian Katz, Director of Library Technology at Villanova University's Falvin Miller Library, to give the welcome address.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this webinar on digital library technology. We have a whole lot to talk about over the next couple of days, but I wanted to start off by sort of setting the context and giving a preview of what's to come. So, of course, we're talking primarily about open source software in this webinar, and there are, of course, benefits and challenges to open source. The obvious benefit is that there are many free software packages that we can use in our libraries to help serve our communities free of charge. But of course, the challenge is that while software is free of monetary cost, actually using the software requires specialized skills. Open source is really about balancing power and responsibility. As we gain the skills needed to use open source, we gain the power to accomplish more. But it is not always easy to gain those skills. Open source is really about joining together in communities to solve common problems and to support each other. And it becomes more powerful as we grow those communities and bring more people together to meet the needs of our users. That's often a challenge because of the amount of learning necessary to become really proficient at working with these tools. And so it is the hope of many in open source communities to provide better tools and better training to help bring more people into the fold and improve the quality of this software. I personally feel that experienced developers have an obligation to share their knowledge with others, because the more people we help, the more people who will eventually be able to help us. And so that's really what this webinar is about. We're going to show you a number of popular, useful open source tools with low barriers to entry. And we're going to talk about some forthcoming efforts to offer more in-depth training. We're only going to be able to scratch the surface today and sort of give an outline of some of the deeper knowledge that you can gain by further study. And all of this is leading up to more involved online training in the near future. And we'll be sharing a survey with you to try to collect more information to make sure that what we offer in the future is helpful to all of you. So I hope that this is just the beginning of a long conversation. So in terms of the actual agenda for today and tomorrow, Today we're going to be talking about a LiveDVD, which you can use to try out a lot of the software we're going to be talking about with a minimum of effort. We're going to be talking more about open source in general, and some background information about metadata and particularly formats and conventions used in libraries. Then we're going to dive into Koha, the integrated library system that's used by many. Talk about SubjectsPlus, a subject guide management system, and talk about the Linux operating system, which is, of course, an open source tool that allows all of these other things to work. Tomorrow, we'll go further in depth on Koha. We'll talk about the DSpace repository software, the WordPress content management system, and the ViewFind discovery layer, which can be used to make all of these systems searchable through a single interface. And going forward, as I mentioned, we'll be planning further training efforts, and we'll be talking about that a lot today and tomorrow. And you can learn more about that and follow our progress at the website training.viewfind.org. So again, welcome. I look forward to talking with all of you about all of these tools and what happens next. And for now, I will turn things over to the next speaker.
Before we begin the sessions, I would just like to introduce Mr. Sher Afzal Khan, Chief Librarian, Air University, Pakistan, President Koha Pakistan, who will be managing Q&A for the next 3 sessions. And now we would like to welcome Professor Mohan Raj Pradhan, PhD, Chairman HealthNet Nepal, to present on LiveDVD.
Okay. Can I just share my screen? Here I have, good evening all of you, because it is evening time in Nepal. I am presenting 2 parts. One is the LiveDVD and another is the website training.viewfind.org. Yes. Users are habituated to use software like Google, where all the informations are available at a single point of access, because people usually use the Googles before they use the software of the library packages. In library, but coming to library, they find that users have to use different software packages for different purposes, just like for Koha for catalog, DSpace for full text, WordPress or Drupal for website, and SubjectsPlus for related links. So they will have a long list of URLs to use the different software packages. To overcome this type of problem, a software has been developed which harvests data from all the aforementioned software. This data can be accessed from a single point of access. The name of this software is ViewFind. ViewFind harvests data which has MARC and XML format. To provide the services from the single point of access, all the aforementioned software has to be installed in a single or multiple computer or computers. This software should have either MARC or XML format for harvesting. For harvesting data, one should have basic know-how of computer as well as knowledge of librarianship. In developing countries, it is hard to find this type of qualification in a single person, and many organizations cannot afford the cost to employ more than one expert for this type of work. Solutions. Considering these factors, HealthNet Nepal, in collaborations with ViewFind Software, has developed a LiveDVD which consists pre-configured software of Koha, DSpace, SubjectsPlus, WordPress, and ViewFind, which is ready to be used. This software is available free of cost and can be downloaded from the URL SourceForge It is available in two flavors. One is the 32 bits and another is the 64 bits. Again, the OS being used is Ubuntu. Why the Ubuntu is being used? Ubuntu is a fast and lightweight operating system with a clean and easy to use user interface. The version being used is Ubuntu 16.4 LTS and 18.4. 18.4 is just released and 16.4 has two types. One is the 32 bits and another one is the 64 bits. So in these situations, what should be done? The solutions as well as the conclusion. In conclusion, I have put this thing. The LiveDVD will provide the solutions to the existing problem of configurations faced by library professionals. If any person likes to know details of pre-configurations being used by us, then one can take training course of digital library technology. We are also providing a training course of digital library. This course consists of 50% theory and 50% hands-on laboratory practice with case study. The training course is run by Viewfind Software in collaborations with the experts of India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and US. The tentative date of beginning the training course is September 2020. Now, I am coming to the part of the training.viewfind.org. In open source software, we are using the third-party software. In this context, there is always a problem of up-to-date documentations. Example, I'm giving an example of the Koha. In Koha ILS, we are advised to use MariaDB database. By default, MariaDB installation is not secure. So you will need to secure MariaDB installation. You can do this by running the MySQL secure installation script. After running MySQL secure installation, you need username and password for accessing database of MariaDB. But at the time of installations of Koha, it is assumed that without root password of database, Koha has to be installed. As these types of problems are usually not documented in the particular software. To solve these problems, we have prepared documentation based on our experience at the time of installations of the software Koha, DSpace, Viewfind, SubjectsPlus, and WordPress for preparing the LiveDVD. For this other problem faced by library professor, we have created the website training.viewfind.org. So here we have uploaded all the documents which we have developed during the time of preparing the LiveDVD. Objectives of the website training.viewfind.org. Provide training course in digital library technology. The URL is given here. You can go through the URLs. Provide library resources online with access to full text documents for installing and configurations of Koha, DSpace, Viewfind, and SubjectsPlus. Provide LiveDVD of the following open source software: Koha ILS, DSpace, SubjectsPlus, WordPress, XML server, and Viewfind. Provide subject guide in digital library technology. Here some are being developed. Need-based documentations. Our objective is to fulfill the gap of documentation developed by software developer. Special focus is given while installing multiple software in a single server. Library cannot afford to have a separate computer for each software, and library need to install multiple software, that is Koha, DSpace, Viewfind, SubjectsPlus, mail server in a single computer server. To provide better service and empower you, we need basic data regarding your know-how of computer OS and software you are using. For this, we have sent survey form. You are kindly requested to fill up form and send us to provide better service to you. Because unless and until we get the information from your side, we cannot provide the better service. So we have sent a survey forms. If once you fill up the survey form, based on that we will plan the other things in the coming days. So you are kindly requested to fill up the forms. Those audiences who have not filled the fill the online form and send us so that we can provide you better services. Now my session is finished.
Thank you, Professor Mohan Rajpradhan. Mr. Sher Afzal Khan will now facilitate a brief Q&A.
I don't see any questions coming in, but if anyone does have questions to ask, everyone in the audience should have a Q&A button near the bottom of Zoom where questions can be submitted. And if you're having any trouble, you can also use the chat box.
Mohan sir,
Yes.
yeah, somehow a lot of questions arises with the live DVD. Many users ask
Yes.
that is live DVD reliable for a production server?
Yes, LiveDVD can also be used for the production server. There is no problems. But you have to, something has to be reconfigured for the security purposes, because most of the things for the security purposes has not been reconfigured in the LiveDVD. So this same principle applies to LiveDVD also. You have to do some sort of security things in the LiveDVD so that it can be used in the production site. Otherwise, there is no problems in using the LiveDVD for the production server.
Is there any clarification? Can anyone found in the live CD? For example, I have a live DVD, and you have also mentioned some installation procedure and everything there. So
yes.
You mentioned about the security things and everything in the documentation.
No.
For production server.
No, it is the same principle applies like the Linux. In the Linux, the type of security things which you are using in the Linux, the same things applies to the LiveDVD also. If you are going to use it as a production server.
Thank you, sir.
So as was noted in the chat, we have a few questions coming in through the Q&A. First question is, will the training sessions be free or will people have to pay?
Yes, the training sessions is not totally free. It is but it is a very low cost.
Next question is, will the LiveDVD work on Windows or Mac?
No, it works on Linux only.
Next question is, can you tell us the benefits of ViewFind? And I will answer that myself by just saying we have a whole session on ViewFind tomorrow, so we will go into greater depth on that subject tomorrow during the session. Next question is, can we upgrade software to the latest versions?
Yes, once the LiveDVD is being installed, you can upgrade the software to the latest version. There is no problems.
A related question, instead of creating new LiveDVD, why can't we continue to use and upgrade the existing LibLiveDVD created by Professor A.R.D. Prasad? And I think this is a matter of there are multiple LiveDVDs with different sets of software available.
Yes, the LiveDVD being created by Professor A.R.D. Prasad he has different software packages being kept on, and then I have put different software packages. So I think that Sunita can answer better regarding this. Where can you unmute? Can you unmute?
Okay.
Can you?
Can I answer? Can I answer the question
Yes, yes.
which is asked? Of course, there was a question that why can't people use LiveDVD? It's like there are multiple options available for the people. They are the best judge to decide which DVD they want to use. Dr. Mohan Prasahan has created one. There are multiple live DVDs which are available on sourceforge.net. It is the end user who has to take up a call and decide which DVD best works on the system which they are trying to implement, whether it is could be a Koha or DSpace or I mean earlier our versions had Drupal. So as he has mentioned, he has used SubjectsPlus, which was not there in our live DVD. So people will have to use their own choice, which DVD they find it better to use. I mean, it is at the end of the user, and there are multiple DVDs. Like there are only Koha live DVDs as well available on sourceforge.net. So people will have to decide. I mean, the end user will have to decide which one they find it better to use.
Thank you for that. We have a few other questions about the LiveDVD. Can you install additional plugins and so forth? And a related question, can you install the software from LiveDVD to a computer?
You cannot separate a particular software from the live DVD to the another computers. You have to live DVD means the whole bunch of softwares which is being created will be installed in your computers. But you can add the additional plugins in the live DVD. There is no problem.
And I think with that, we are out of time for live answering of questions, but I think we can move on to the next session, and I will try to help answer some of the remaining questions using text while we move forward.
Next, I would like to invite Professor Sashi Dharam Joshi, Institute of Engineering, Tribhuvan University, Nepal, to speak on open source software.
Much. Okay, good evening, everybody. I hope you can see my screen and you can hear the voice properly. Okay, so welcome to the presentation in open source software for libraries. Actually, I am not a library person. I'm basically from Department of Computer Engineering and working in open source software. And one of them is just library software. So this is my basic background. So I was a guest lecturer in Japan, Korea, Norway, and I was a visiting professor in South Asian University, that is the Sark University. So my basic contents are type of the library software, how to choose the best library automation software, what are the key features of library management software, and if time permits, I will talk about yet library management software, what is called the best open source library management software. So let us go to the type of library software. One is premium, that is a commercial library management software, and it has the outstanding feature, but the cost is pretty high. So it will be difficult for many institutions to have this software. And alternate is the open source. Another is the shareware. So user can try the software software for free for limited period and have to pay to use the service forever. Another is the cloud-based, that is a cloud-hosted subscription-based, and this can be used without having to have license or install. So this is basically hosted by third party, and software demands some operational control cost. So there will be few. Another is the freemium. So this version of the software, this is zero test cost. So the free trial period can last any time from a few weeks to few months. Now, basic, this was talked before also, open source. So the code is available for public use to use, copy, modify, and distribute. And this is for the rapid evolution of the code and the program. So we can have the, it can help in correcting errors. So the key advantage of the open source library management software is the user can acquire and download this software freely. No developer can claim any royalty on the distribution. And this approach is gaining momentum. So open source library management software can be free for unlimited time or can come with some limitation. So this is becoming lucrative opportunity for the market growth. Another is the free and open source. So small and medium-sized libraries very often have less budget and they use this. So free and open source library management software solution enable to automate their system in a cost-effective way. So what are the ways to choose the software? Which is better? We have to talk about safe, security, and reliable. Another is easy to use and packed with the functional features and the modules. So normally in library management software, because you all of you are expert than me, so these are the basic case: acquisition management, catalog management, barcode management, search facility, online access, inventory, patron management, subscription management, and report. These are called the list of best 8 library management software. So Koha, Evergreen, so all these 8. So I'll just talk briefly. If my time is exceeding, you please stop me, okay, please, because I have a very lot of slides. So there is just a comparison of all this software, because basically I am a programmer. I do programming, I do coding. So Koha, so it was developed, released in January 2000, and it was written in Perl. So you can just see. And the new one is Invenio. This was released in June 2018, and this is developed in Python, and Python is considered to be the first programming language, best programming language in our computer engineering and computer science society for almost 7-8 years. So it is always coming in first rank. So this is just a basic comparison, and all these are the open sources. And these are the features, what is available in these all 8 software names. So cataloging, circulation, reporting, digital asset management, OPALS, acquisition, serial management, and all those things. So you can just see the basic chart. Now, once I was also involved in the training of Koha for very short duration. So this is one of the most advanced free and open source integrated library manager. So it was introduced in 1998, and thousands of the libraries, they are using this. And the software is viable, scalable, and ideal for all kinds of libraries. So this is the basic snapshot view of Koha. And the key feature, these are the basic key feature. So it is an intuitive navigation to its user. It supports file management, automated email notification, supports powerful search facility, so there is no vendor lock. So these are all self-checkout, dual authentication, facility to import badges, advanced matching, and all these features. So it has an open public access catalog circulation, so popularly used by both small and large public libraries, private bookkeepers, companies, schools, and universities. Another is Evergreen. So used by nearly 2,000 libraries around the world. So it has a catalog interface along with the feature that helps user with the backend workflow operation too. So developed in Georgia Public Library System back in 2006. And this is the snapshot of this. So it's an open scalable request framework. It has a circulation module. All these basic flexible indexing, clarifying, and collection facilities. Online public access, so multiple payment option. So these are the things. Option to return circulation history data, self-registration. It has a very powerful search facility, complete tracking of book procured, invoice, etc., statistical and customized report generation. So this is one of the top rated library management software, and this is, of course, is free to use. Now, BiblioteQ, this is a professional library management solution and categorizing system, and it is compatible with many Qt supporting support. So it's a free and open source library management. So this is the basic snapshot. It's a user-facing interface, and it totally supports our architecture. That is the advanced rich machine architecture, which architecture normally we use nowadays in a lot of cases. So it supports drag and drop for cover images, customized display facilities, and both localized and advanced search facilities. So file attachment you can do. So facility to retrieve cover images via Amazon, and it has a multiple SRU. So SRU facility, that is a search and retrieval by URL, and we can have JET 39.5 sites. So that is basically international standard for client server architecture. So another is the data query, and this is developed in Qt compiler, Qt4 compiler. So these are the basic feature. Another is the OPALS. So this is also developed in a same compiler. And OPALS, this is the snapshot. So it has these are the basic features. So it uses barcode and barcode reader for circulation. Now, when you go for advanced case, we can have a QR coding also. Now, QR coding is becoming more effective than basic general barcoding. So, facility to activate keyword search. So, it permits ILL authorization. So, the basic case what we can have. Email notification, it has access to calendar, access to digital archive, and all these cases. So it has a map format, so it's a machine readable cataloging. So another is OpenBiblio. So I think, I don't know, I may be exceeding time, please interrupt me. So I'm trying to go fast as possible. So this is the basic snapshot for that. So it's a user-friendly opaque interface. So it can have a member interface and account creation and booking. So it supports for emails, keyword search interface. So it has a booking management modules. So facility to be and edit the biblio and integrated with school calendars. So next is the Invenio, and this is basically developed because all other it was developed either in Java, Perl, and this is developed in the Python language, which is one of my preferable language and considered to be one of the best programming language of present time for almost 7-8 years. And it provides a little more security function compared to other thing what I have mentioned. So offer 100% security to the user in terms of books related and other information. So this is the basic snapshot for that. This is the most flexible data module capable of handling multiple type of records. So advanced file management facility. It has a powerful search engine with elastic search technology. So that is more one of the advanced searching technology. So it has a better file organization with quota management. It has a rich API collaboration. That is a application program interfacing. So we can do certain part of program interfacing, basically in Python, one of the very extremely powerful language now. So the scalability you can do, it offer completely visibility across the life cycle. Another is the PMB. So it's a free, and version 4.2 and 5 version is also there. So developed in 2004. This is the basic snapshot. And it supports for UniMap system. So that is the universal machine readable cataloging system. Modern interface is a user-friendly, so complete biology, and it has OPAC integration, it has a RFID integration. So these are the basic feature, powerful statistical tools, synchronization with LDAP directory. So that is a lightweighted directory access protocol, So these are, and the latest version 5.0, it comes with the ability to export the information from the digital document too. Next is the NewGenLib. So this is ideal for both small and big libraries, basic snapshot. And all these are the general features. Most of the features are general. So it also has the RFID integration, and it can track items and billing and all these functions. Another is the code ACHI. So this is one of the leading system available in market today. And it has a multi-system support. The software is ideal for managing book and other administrative function in the library. So this is the snapshot. So general features are there. It can do the barcode printing, so rack management, and there is an option to use cloud storage for this. So the free version, free. And you can purchase this also. There is a premium version for this. Another is the LIBRARIAN basic snapshot for this. So the general key feature as earlier. So it has a quick and easy generation of member ID card. So that is another one of the good feature for this. So with the barcode and the photograph, so it has a multilingual support, multimedia issues, and printable barcode. So these are the basic features. Of course, RFID is there. Then there are other few. There are a lot of softwares, freeware, open source available. And what is the basic thing this year? The library automation management software is becoming quite popular. What is the projection? The global library management software is predicted to touch US $2.8 billion by 2024. So that is the basic prediction. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank
If
you. So
any
we only have
question-
about 2 minutes for questions, but I have a couple in the chat. The first being, how many universities are currently using PMB?
Exactly, I don't have the data of that PMB data. Exactly, I don't know about how many universities. Around maybe 2,000 universities, something like that they may be using. Well, I have to check.
Thank you. And the other question, which I suspect may be difficult to answer, is which of these systems is the best in your opinion?
See, as I have already told you, my basic background is not the library science. I'm from a computer engineering department because I explore the open source software, and one of them is the library software. And when you talk about the best, according to the ranking, in the ranking of 8 best open source software, Koha is ranked as the best open source software. That is coming in number 1.
One last question, sort of on a related note. Do you have an opinion on which has the lowest maintenance cost?
Lowest maintenance cost, it may be very difficult to say. I don't know how to make a comparison in terms of the maintenance cost, because maintenance cost means we have to think about the accessories, what we use. So there may be RFID, there may be barcode scanner, there may be a lot of accessories associated with library management system. So it will be difficult to say. In terms of software only, also, I don't know, because you can help me in that matter, I think.
All right, well, thank you very much. I think we're out of time for this session, but we can move on to the next.
Thanks to you
Yeah,
both.
thank you very much to all of you.
I would now like to invite Ms. Hasina Afraz, BRAC University, Bangladesh, to present on Mark 21, RDA and metadata.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sorry. Okay, anyway. Assalamu alaikum, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. I really appreciate the introduction about me. It is great to be speaking with all of you today. I want to make a short presentation about the objectives and outlines of our forthcoming training on metadata, Mark 21 and RDA. Let me begin to explain. Let me begin to explain why we are going to conduct the training on metadata, Mark 21 and RDA. But before that, I want to read a quote of Mr. Salman Haidar, who is a librarian, cataloger, blogger, and the creator of Librarianship Studies and Information Technology blog. He said, "Who needs a librarian and cataloger when you have Google and internet? Well, who needs a teacher when you have Wikipedia? And who needs a doctor when you have WebMD? Just as the Wikipedia does not replace the teacher and OpenBiblio does not replace the doctor, in the same way, Google search and internet does not replace the librarian and cataloger." So what do you think? Do you agree with me or do you disagree with me? Okay, let's start my main presentation. Now I would like to move on to my main presentation. The objectives of our proposed training program is, you can see the contents of our forthcoming training are designed to prepare the participants for the future with the knowledge, skills, and confidence needed to deal with metadata, MIC21, and RDA that follow the standards, transmit the right information, and provide the best access to the users. Now I'd like to move on to the next slide on metadata. Why we have chosen to conduct training on metadata? Of course, there are some reasons. Discoverability is fundamental to managing any collection. Understanding and using metadata effectively ensures your resources are connected, relevant, and easily found both on the web and in the broader networked world. This training will be a starting point for anyone interested in understanding metadata, especially those conducting or supporting research activities. You know that the traditional role of providing information support and training has been changed. In many universities, library is playing a key role in engaging with the research community, particularly in regard to the management of the research data. The traditional role of providing information support and training has been expanded to include support the researchers in all steps of the research life cycle. From this training program on metadata, participants will learn about metadata standards and also research data, dataset, data documentation, basic metadata fields, data management plan, tools and resources, datasets, metadata checklist, content vocabulary and theory, technical rights and preservation, harvesting crossworks, Dublin core metadata elements and examples. Also metadata services at library. Participants will also learn how to provide advice to researchers about the data management during their research life cycle and the way researchers will be creating their data, the format they will use, and building a commitment to use repository to publish and preserve their data. So actually in this training program, we will give emphasis on metadata implementation in library. Now let's move into the next slide. The great challenges, this is on March 21, why we are going to conduct the training on March 21. The great challenges of this digital age in the library is that to preserve the collection and manage the information in a consistent way, which ensures the user's accessibility in future. And cataloging remains one of the best tools we have to guarantee that information, no matter what of its format or content can be accessed. For decades, the MARC standards form the basis for cataloging in libraries. Through the years, MARC standards has adjusted to development in the field of information, allowing cataloging and processing of traditional and non-traditional library materials. MARC is a great importance for the digital exchange of information. It is widely used as the standard exchange format for bibliographic data, and it complements the introduction of the new cataloging standard RDA, that is resource description and access. All information specialists should have a basic knowledge on March 21. The participants will learn from this training program. That means I am trying to say that what will be covered in this training program is Introduction to Mark 21, understanding the structure and elements in Mark 21, understanding the Mark authority records, bibliographic records, and holding records, and also the feature of Mark and RDA. Now I would like to move on to my last slide. That is basic of RDA. The need to address the challenges of the digital world and metadata users has resulted in the development of new cataloging record standard RDA to replace ASCR2. RDA is the recently adopted set of standards that tells us what types of information must be included in library record and for what reason. Mark, on the other hand, is the encoding standard that makes the information readable and searchable by library catalog software. If RDA explains what information belongs in a record and why, then Mark explains how that information is to be written. This online course will provide participants with an overview and understanding of the changes RDA implementation will bring. RDA has implemented by the Library of Congress and a number of libraries for creating new records. So it is definitely time for library professionals to start learning about RDA. If any library wants to implement RDA, then their library systems will need to support the creation and exchange of RDA data. As Koha is the widely used ILS, so we have chosen Koha to show you how to create and edit bibliographic data with RDA. What changes needs to be done to the Mark format in Koha? The RDA contents of the training are designed to prepare the librarians for the future and will give you the confidence to deal with both ASCR Mark records and RDA Mark records. As I said at the beginning, this is just starting to learn about RDA. In future, we will also plan to conduct advanced RDA training program where we will try to cover details about RDA toolkit and others. At present, if any library is doing original cataloging with Mark 21 and ASCR2 and want to switch to RDA, then this training will be a learning point for them. We will try to provide step-by-step instructions and documentation switch to RDA in Koha. And well, that brings me to the end of my presentation. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see some questions are starting to come in. The first one, I'm not entirely sure what the context is, but it says, why does show record differ at the OPAC search and reports of specific libraries?
Actually, the question is not clear to me. I don't know whether Jamie will be able to answer the question.
Yeah, I'm not sure if this is specifically related to the metadata discussion or if it's a more general question about Koha. So I will move on, but please feel free to clarify the question. Next question is for the detailed training on Mark 21 metadata and RDA, how many days are required?
Actually, we have not decided yet, but it depends on, actually, Mohan will be the best person to say how many days we will get to conduct this kind of training program on Mark 21 and RDA and also metadata.
Can you, are you hearing me?
Yes.
Yes. Metadata, this is a subject. We have around 6 subjects in our training courses, and one of the subjects is the Mark 21 metadata and RDA. The total number of days devoted to Mark 21 is it is 8 to 10 days, and 2 hours per day, 2 to 3 hours per day.
Because we are including Mark 21 metadata and as well as RDA, so it will take 10.
Yes, yes. And then this is not the we are not working this in isolations, because whenever the Mark 21 metadata and RDA you learn, this you are going to implement into the Koha, and again in the D space, biblic code in the D space. So all these things are integrated, and these are not separate any in isolations you can learn. If you learn in integrated form, then only you will better understand the scope of these subjects, and you can better implement these things. So these things have to be learned in an integrated environment. So we have developed the course in an integrated environment so that all the courses complement with each other.
One thing I want to add here, actually, I'm working as a university librarian at Brack University, and I'm planning to move into, the RDA, from ACR to RDA. So we have already decided to do this. So by this time, we are going to conduct this training in September, I think September or October. By this time, we'll be able to know how much time it will take to implement or to convert from ACR to RDA, or how much time should you conduct, how many hours should you conduct this training program, if we want to show step-by-step guidelines from Mark 21 to RDA, ACR, in Koha. So it depends on totally, I don't know. After a few days, I think we'll be able to give you the details. Just keep your eyes into the website, Viewfind website, training.viewfind.org. You'll get detail about the course book.
I think we can squeeze in another question or two before moving on. We also have, is there any other MARC standard format besides MARC 21?
Is there any MARC besides MARC 21?
Right, that's the question.
MARC 21, actually, we are going to, in future, as far as I know, in future, there will be no MARC 21. This is, I can see. RDA is going to replace everything. RDA is going to replace, because that's why we are moving into RDA. That's why we're moving into RDA. Yeah, after MARC 21, there is not, I can't find any version. Do you know anyone about this thing? Is there any version after MARC 21? I don't know.
I think that sort of the challenge here is that MARC 21 is just a way of encoding data, whereas RDA is a way of defining what fields go into the encoding. So I think MARC 21 may eventually be replaced by completely different things like BibFrame or linked data in the future, but I think that's still a long way off, and we're going to be living with MARC 21 for a while yet. And with that, I think we'd better move on to the next session, but there are a few open questions that we can answer through the Q&A panel while we move forward. So thank you again for that presentation, and I'll let Gina do the next introduction.
Thanks, Damien. Before we begin the next set of sessions, I would just like to first introduce Professor J.P. Agrawal, who will be managing Q&A after the next 3 talks. Professor J.P. Agrawal is by profession a physician. His educational qualification is MD, Internal Medicine, and MSc in Medical Education. He was the ex-dean and medical director of Institute of Medicine. He has a keen interest in information retrieval. And with that, I just want to welcome Sunita Barve, PhD, National Chemical Laboratory, India, who will speak on Koha ILS.
Yeah, thank you, Regina. And can I share my screen now?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So, good evening and good morning to all of you. Of course, my job is to just give you a brief introduction about Koha, and we will be having, as Dr. Mohan Pradhan, as well as in the beginning, Debian has mentioned, this training program, which is an online training program, which is going to conduct sessions on especially open source software. Actually, the earlier speaker, Dr. Joshi, has really eased my life because he has already spoken about what I am going to talk. And we were asked to just talk for just 5 minutes to give you an overview about what we are going to conduct in this training program. I just thought I will be talking about Koha. When we talk about open source, what is basically open source is the source code available to the end user. If he or she wants to develop it further, the software, they have the facility to completely develop that software, and they can completely customize the software. And as we know, there are a range of open source software, and the world is moving more with implementing open source, and especially in the library community, we know that many libraries are now moving ahead with open source implementation. Either they manage it on their own, or they try to get the commercial support from outside agencies if the library does not have the support in-house. And Koha is one such software basically, which is an integrated library automation software. I mean, integrated library automation is all the modules of Koha are connected to each other, and it is useful for day-to-day operations in the library. It has been, as Damien has mentioned, many libraries have a lot of troubles in implementing open source software. There are a lot of misconceptions. Libraries get worked up about understanding how to get the software used in their library, as well as to get a proper training and understanding the several features of any open source. It is very good that they attend the several online training programs which are available. And as this Koha has been one of the popular, heavily used library automation software. I also would like to mention here one thing, that we have been talking a lot about implementation of Koha in the libraries, but if you really find very few Koha related libraries catalogs you would see today on internet, due to several reasons. And in this training program, our idea is to give you an in-depth understanding of the software, learning several modules which are available for the software. So basically, coming back to Koha, it is used for any type of library, whether it's a small school library or a college library or a university library or a public library or a research library. Across the world, the implementation of Koha has been heavily used by many organizations, and it has all functionalities which are required for any, again, whether it's a small library or a national library. And many of the features which are available in Koha are developed from the user's point of view. Over the years, we all of us have been bothered about how the features are required for the librarian, like whether I am able to process the invoice properly in the software or not, and whether my budgeting has been taken care or not. But when we look at Koha, it is more developed from the user's point of view, especially online public access catalog of Koha is getting more fine-tuned, and many new features are being added, and libraries as well as users are finding it very useful for searching for the books or any other documents that are available in their library. I just want to give you a small brief history what basically Koha is. As I have mentioned, it is an open source library automation software, and its development started in 1999, and the first version was released in 2000. And the name of the software comes from a Maori term which means a gift or a donation, and it was the project which was started in New Zealand by a company with in a Horowenia library trust. As you all know, many of you know that when you are trying to implement Koha, we always should know which version is running on our server, whether it is you're running on a desktop or on a server. We should know. Presently, when I'm talking about the software today, it is running 20.5.1 version, but it is possible that by the time we would start our training program, it would have had a newer version which would be available, as Koha brings out fortnightly, every fortnightly new versions, intermediate versions of the software are available to the end user. And it is not really essential that as soon as the new version is available, the librarian should immediately jump and try to install that software on their server. Because every new version will have some bugs, every new version will have some limitations. So we should really see that what limitations are available with the new version, and then try to implement the new version which is available on internet. As I have mentioned, it is developed by a community of libraries and volunteers from around the globe, and it is implemented globally. And especially if you see the developing countries, you will see large installations of Koha in developing countries. And some of you would already be aware that Marshall Breeding does a survey, library system report survey every year. And as per his recent survey research report, 15.52% libraries have in US especially are now already have been either using Koha or Evergreen. As Dr. Zoshi has already given a list of software which are available for the library automation, and Koha has been now at the moment. We never know tomorrow. We know that there has been work going on Folio, and there are, as he has mentioned about Invenio. When I did my research for the digital library, and I had liked Invenio that time, but considering the installation and the number of users base is still not a very big user base for Invenio. But Koha has been appreciated and across the world used by many libraries. And that is why in this course we have added a element of teaching Koha for all the community members, and people would like to know how Koha can be implemented in their libraries. And in India as well, many states and funding agencies have made it mandatory to use Koha. So that is how we also see in India, there are large number of installations of Koha. There has been discussions and some questions have been already asked how to install Koha. Again, we will be taking these classes also about how to actually install Koha. But it basically to give you understanding that Koha can be installed on a Linux server. You can use it on a Windows client platform, but to install you need a Linux server, either Ubuntu or Debian. And as Dr. Pradhan has already mentioned, there are many live DVDs already in place. I could just list here 3 of them, but I apologize. There may be many of them already available. You can check on the sourceforge.net. But there is one DVD which only has a Koha installation. Vimal Kumar from India has done it. Then Dr. Mohan Pradhan's DVD is custombackup.iso, which is a second link I have given in my presentation. We also, Professor A.R.D. Prasad and I have created one DVD which is called LiveDVD, which also has, along with Koha, DSpace, BooFind, Drupal, and many libraries have used that LiveDVD as well. And there were a few questions about whether LiveDVD can be used on a server or not, and what limitations it has. Of course, all those questions we would answer when actually our training program would start, because in our training program, we are planning to conduct in-depth learning of Linux operating system, then Koha and DSpace and BooFind and SubjectsPlus, as well as earlier speaker Mark 21. And many other such elements would be covered in the training program. The idea of this today's 2 days webinar is to just give you a brief introduction about what Koha basically is. And I have just very few slides on talking about Koha. So basically, what would be the course content as decided by the members of this online training program? We would be talking about general introduction about library automation, basically what library automation implementation is, then how to install and configure Koha, basics of Koha, then there would be sessions on global system preferences, Koha administration, and there are different modules like acquisitions module Koha supports, cataloging module Koha supports, serial control module Koha supports, circulation module Koha supports, patrons, authorities, reports, tools, list, and online public access catalog. Koha also has a very good facility to import and export data, and this training program also would touch upon those areas. We will also try to show you in our training session that how to backup, restore, and upgrade your Koha. There have been some questions by the participants that whether we can, if at all we use LiveDVD, whether we can upgrade Koha, we can migrate it into any other software. If you have done the full-fledged installation of Linux operating system, whether it could be Ubuntu any flavor, or a Debian or Ubuntu, Koha would function properly well without any difficulties. How to create a union catalog. So these are some of the topics that would be covered during our actual training session, which would going to start during September. I just thought of giving you an outline about the course content. Meanwhile, if you really want to get any information about what basically Koha is, as I have already mentioned, it is an library automation software, and it covers all the modules that are required, whether you are working in a school library or a college library or a research library or a national library or a university library, you can really implement Koha. It also has a very good facility that you can manage all these libraries under one server installation, or you can create several instances of Koha for your, like if I'm working in one of the CSIR laboratory of National Chemical Laboratory, either we can have several instances of all the CSIR libraries, or we can independently install it the way we have in NCL. We have an independent installation of Koha, but at the same time, CSIR has already created a union catalog of all the Koha implementation under CSIR, and there is a union catalog already available for end users to search the books which are available, and through Koha they can search those books. That's all. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction about Koha, and I do not want to take more time because it's only an orientation program, and I would stop with this today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sunitaji. Thank you very much. There are so many questions. There are so many questions being asked to you on the Koha because it is very popular. So one of the participant has asked the inherent superiority of the Koha ILS over the other ILSs, even commercially one. How do you entice non-user to use or to migrate to Koha ILS? That is one question. And another question is asked, can you answer this?
Yeah, I think whoever is using commercial software, it is better to implement Koha and migrate from commercial, because in due course, if you do not have any funding and if you do not have, if the commercial software, whatever is available presently with any library, if the commercial vendor, if he is not really very popular, if he is not able to support in future, it is always a good choice to move on to Koha. If tomorrow something better than Koha comes, they can move from Koha to something else. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Yes, we can still
Have
hear
I
you.
answered?
Thank you.
Yeah, I did not get whether I could answer or not. Yeah. That was the question asked. Am I right?
Yes, that was great. I think we're ready for the next question. I think we may be having a technical problem. I will take over managing questions until everyone's reconnected. So one question is, will there be a link to access the PowerPoint of this webinar? I am certainly happy to share links to the slides along with the video recording if everyone is willing to share them. Another question, which I think is a repeat of what came through earlier, is a question about why in Koha records display differently depending on whether it's in the OPAC, the advanced search, or the reports?
Yeah, I mean, what exactly is, I mean, I don't know what exactly is the question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not entirely sure either. Another question is, why might Koha run slow? What could be a reason for that?
It all depends on the hardware you have, the RAM you have assigned, provided to your Koha. And now if you can implement Koha Plaque, it runs a little faster. That is what my understanding is, if I am answered correctly.
Another question is there a risk of losing data when upgrading Koha? I think this is specifically asking about upgrading from version 3.18 to the latest, but I think it could be answered more generally as well.
Yeah, of course, when you are upgrading, it is important to keep a backup. Try to run and your upgrade on a test server, and if everything is okay, then you can really implement on a production server. Otherwise, yes, you should always not take any risk of directly upgrading on a production server, because you never know. So always try to test it first and on a test server, and then implement the upgradation.
Another question, which seems pretty broad, is there any limitation in Koha?
Yeah, I mean, how do we answer that limitation? Yeah, there will be always some good features available from the commercial software that you can see. But I do not know. It's a very general question. Yeah.
And with that, I think we need to move on to the next talk, but there are a few remaining questions if you're willing to look at the Q&A, Sunita, and answer by text.
Yeah, I think I will. Yeah, I will answer by, on text. Yeah, I will do that. Yeah, thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Okay, now I would like to introduce Professor Sailendra Kumar, PhD, University of Delhi, to speak on SubjectsPlus.
Thank you very much. Namaste. Good evening and good morning. We'll be discussing about what is SubjectsPlus is. I'll share my screen. Now, you see, we are the people dealing with the information. And the information is coming in various forms. And to handle those information and the users of those information, we have a place in institutions. And that is a library, or that is an information resource center. And in the information resource center or a library, we have all sorts of information resources. Basically, books and journals. The shape of all these information sources are changing. We had a print resources. Now the e-resources are coming, and in a variety of formats. How to handle all these different kind of sources? We have a variety of softwares. To handle our procurement area, to handle our classification area, to provide the acquisition, to provide the journals, we have an in-house services, we have a user services. So we need we have to computerize, we have to automate these areas. So we developed a library automation software. Now in the library automation software, there are a number of library automation softwares. And they are basically to handle the document part, a book part. Then there is another software which is dealing with the digital information sources. So there is a institutional repository softwares are there. And many more softwares are coming up depending upon what type of informations we are handling. Whatever the type of information is, all these information, it belongs to some subject area. And to handle that information, whether your information resource is a books, whether your information resource is a journal, whether your information resource is a video, whether your information resource is a journal databases, whether your information resource is a websites, or they are the cluster of journals, or whether your information source is a cluster of video. So we have a video databases, we have a journal databases, and at the same time all these things belongs to a particular department, so we have a departments. So handling the flow of information, the generation of information, and the handling of all this information, whenever you are as a student or as a researcher, whenever you are working in subject area. Whenever you are working in the subject area on a certain topic. To handle all these issues, we need a system, we need a automated environment where all these problems can be handled just with a single subject stroke, and all these different variety of resources are available. So I have seen SubjectPlus is the answer. In the SubjectPlus software, it was initially developed in 2004. I'll give you the brief of the SubjectPlus, and whatever I just said, how to handle all these things in the SubjectPlus area, the department, the subjects, the topics, and the databases, whether it's a journal databases, whether it's an audio databases, how to create a record of all these things related to a guide or a subject. SubjectPlus is giving you a very systematic scenario in it. Now, this SubjectPlus is a free and open source tool that creates and manages the online research guides. It was initially developed by Andrew Darby at Ithaca College Library, USA in 2004. And in now 2020, we are having its latest version also, 4.5. It is an application which is developed in PHP, and the backend is a MySQL. Now in this software, as the other softwares are having, you have a login system where there is an admin, and then you have a subject librarians in the library or an information resource center. They are the technical people who can handle this SubjectPlus, and then you can create a users also. Different variety of users you can create. As I mentioned, it provides facilities to dynamically manage a library's subjects, courses, topics, guides, and other resources. What it is doing, whenever we are talking of a subject, it is going into the subject part of the resources. It means it is also one of the content management tool also. Now it allows many different ways of presenting the guides, enabling users to access them like users, subject, course, databases, and what type of information they require. Now, I already mentioned why we need SubjectPlus. To create a platform, to create a single access point to all these resources. These resources can be first categorized into a open access sources or a subscribed sources in the library or a commercial sources. It provides remote access of our information resources. Also, let us say you have created a database, you have created a subject, you are having a SubjectPlus in your library, and you have created a database of all these resources. You can have a remote access of your resources from anywhere. To organize number of online resources by subject, by A to Z list of databases. At the same time, your resource can be a human resource. Your resource can be an equipment. Your resource can be a website. So you can collaborate also with other, and you can communicate with the faculty and the department. This SubjectsPlus is having a facilities. Now the important features of SubjectsPlus, you can create a guides. Now what is this guide is? Guide is basically, it gives you a in-depth listing of a subject also. You can create a staff list also. You can create a database list also. This staff list can be a department wise, or this staff list can be your library, or it can be the experts in the area. Or you can manage the video also, video management. And with this software, SubjectsPlus, when you are working on, there are a lot of, you require a help, you require certain questions. So all the users who are working with it, they have a frequently asked questions. Of course, suggestion box is there to upgrade, to really develop the SubjectsPlus, and it can handle a multilingual aspects. It has a API also, application programming interface. Mean, whenever you are working with any project, any research area, if you need you are doing a project and you need some interface, a software, some code, so you can create a library. You can create a library which is API. Someone integration is that you can have an online assistance or on any technical issues related with this SubjectsPlus. So there is a team working behind this SubjectsPlus who can really help you. Some of the users of SubjectsPlus, it has a worldwide users. American University of Central Asia, you have a Women's University Library, Louisiana State University Library, Management University of Africa, Kenya. India, we have an Institute of Technology, Gandhinagar, Indian Statistical Institute, Delhi, Pondicherry University, Nepal, Civil Aviation Authority of India, and many more. Now, I will now share to solve all these functionality. I will now share the screenshots of the SubjectsPlus. This is the first screen of how to sign in into the SubjectsPlus. As usual, as other softwares are having, you have to put your credentials, you have to give your email, and then you have to give your password and submit it. And you can create a new users also into it. As an admin, you can work as a subject librarian. You can provide an admin access, like when you are working with the WhatsApp. When you are creating a WhatsApp group, you can be an admin also, or you can give the facilities to 2-3 admins also. So it has all those basic necessary requirements of creating the users listing. So these are some of the screens. You have to give the department name, positions, title, all the social media related aspects of the users. And then finally, you will get a list of all these users which are using this. These are some screen. Then permissions. As other softwares are having, you have an admin, then you have a librarian, will show you up on the librarian list. Supervisor will show up on the drop down of supervisor when adding a new users. You can have a view map. Again, when you are creating an admin, you can also restrict their functions, who can create a record, who can delete, and who can create a videos. You can specify the specific resource also who can permit it to do those functionalities. This is the working platform first. You will see the records, guides, FAQ, talkback, videos, admin. These are some of more of these screens. How you can create a guide. As I mentioned, you can create a broader guide, and then, we are familiar with the CS list of subject headings. Narrower term, border term, related term, all those aspects are very nicely created into this area. Create a record. So how you can create a record? You can give a record ID, prefix, record title, alternate description, location, its format, access. You can restrict the access also, a status, whether it is still active or not. And this is another resource, which is a database list. And this is A to Z database list. Whatever databases you are creating into it, a record, you can give a URL also. So all the library resources, in the library also we create a subject gateway, and in the subject gateway we put all these databases. So here is the listing of all these databases which SubjectsPlus can do also very nicely. So it has a to Z, all these listing, and from here you can activate your particular journal or a database. And this is a video database, how you can create a video record. And when you are creating a video record, you can give its URL, where that is located, what is the format of that video is, accession, how you can access the restrictions, and give the name of the record title, prefix, a URL. You can have a database of the videos also, journal database and the video database. So this is the screen of the video database. You can see the red one here, video. And then you can add a department also. So all the departments in the university, all the different sections in your information centers. So all those things you can create a record here, and you can give a department name. All those related fields are here. And this is the list of FAQ. Whosoever is asking frequently asked questions. So this software will build up a library of FAQ. And you have seen these functionalities, many other softwares also. So related to the SubjectsPlus, it has a FAQ collection also, where a user can directly go there and see whether he can get his answer there or not. And of course, all these aspects will be conducting a course on the SubjectsPlus, and this is the outline of the course, wherein the users will be taught the components of the SubjectsPlus, what are the different components, subject guide, databases, staff, video management, API, and they will be provided with the system overview, records, guides, and how to create, how to edit, hands-on, online. And from where I got this information is a very interesting aspect in the SubjectsPlus is you have a SubjectsPlus Google group also. So there is an online SubjectsPlus Google group which will help the SubjectsPlus users to work with it and to have more facilities into it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just wanted to note that I'm filling in for Dr. Agrawal on the Q&A because he's been having some electricity supply problems. So apologies, you're seeing more of me than planned. But in any case, we have a few questions that have come in. The first is one of the features of SubjectsPlus managing various electronic resources the library subscribed to? And I think that was sort of answered by the talk, but maybe it's worth saying more about whether there are any management aspects beyond just presenting the guides.
Yes.
Do you know if SubjectsPlus can integrate with the EBSCO Discovery Service?
I'm not sure because it has integrations with the other softwares. I don't know how it can be done.
Next question is whether we can add SubjectsPlus data in ViewFind like DSpace and Koha. And the answer to that is yes, there is a demonstration of that on the LiveDVD. So we can talk about that further on the ViewFind mailing lists as needed as well. Another question is it possible to input maps, drawings of architecture, etc.?
You see that if you are having a maps or a guides, and if you have stored it somewhere on you can give the paths therein. There is a facilities of giving the path where the information is stored. Yes.
Another question is SubjectsPlus equivalent to Koha?
See, Koha is altogether a different. Koha is basically giving you a facility to automate your in-house library functions, wherein you can go for acquisitions, you can go for issue returns, circulations, all those aspects. SubjectPlus is basically providing the information resources on different subjects, topics, whether it is a human resources, whether it is a databases, whether it is a e-resources, video resources. So that way, SubjectPlus is working on a different area.
And it looks like the last question is, can SubjectsPlus be integrated with other library softwares?
That you have mentioned that it is there already.
Right,
Okay.
right. All right, that seems to have cleared all of the questions in the queue. So I think we are ready to move on. Thank you again for the presentation and the Q&A.
Thank you.
Okay, I now welcome Mr. Umar Khan, Brak University, Bangladesh, to speak on Linux system.
Greetings, everyone. I'm Omar Khan from Brak University, Bangladesh. I'm currently working as a system programmer at Aisha Abed Library, Brak University. So before diving into the Linux course, I would like to emphasize that why Linux is important. Linux is like operating system like Mac OS. Someone has questioned about Mac OS and Windows operating system. Linux is an operating system for mostly for servers and also for your personal use. So a few popular Linux distributions like Ubuntu, Fedora, Mint, Debian, CentOS, and Red Hat. But mostly used, I would say that Ubuntu, Debian, CentOS, and in enterprise solution, Red Hat is used. For the library training, we will be using Lubuntu, and the LiveDVD is based on Lubuntu. It is a Linux system that is that has a very minimal desktop and a selection of light application. Because of this, Lubuntu requires a very low hardware configuration. Maybe as Professor Mohan has answered earlier, that with a Core 2 Duo PC and 4 GB RAM will be preferable for the LiveDVD installation. But in case of server, we would say that you use one of those, Debian, CentOS, or Ubuntu. And for most of the library information system, Debian is preferred because the instruction manuals and other forums use the command line information based on Debian, and some of them is Ubuntu. You can also use CentOS, but we would prefer you use Debian and Ubuntu. And as I said earlier, that Red Hat has a enterprise solution that is paid. So today's session is on the course overview of a Linux operating system that we will be going in the next September coming September. So one of that course is taught in that is Linux. So Linux, this is so for a basic course. So a librarian or a information technologist from non-CSE background can use the Linux and have a pretty good understanding of the Linux operating system, how it works, and some of the configuration, how it can be changed. These are the course will be based on 6 modules. So introduction of the Linux, and there are files and directories, user administration, text manipulation. I'll be going in deep in the next few slides. So in the introduction of Linux, we'll be covering a few basic comments, installing the LiveDVD screenshots, LiveDVD. So that will be a practical session. And then we'll move on to the file hierarchy. So why would you need file hierarchy? That will give you an understanding of the Linux operating system files, where you will install, where the log files are, and where the kernel file, or what do you need to change, what type of files you need to change in the operating system. You will also have an understanding of file and directory management. Then we will move on to user administration. So while installing any type of library information systems, you will face some difficulties in understanding in root account, system account, and user account. So in the course, we will try to clarify each sections and how to manage each users, even if you want to give the access to your other system admins and others. Like I said, as a librarian, you can have a pretty good understanding of the user management. Text manipulation in Linux command line system, text manipulation is a bit different from other we use in Windows and other platform. I will say that other graphical interface platform. So we will be mostly using the command line section. So nano text editor is a very good example of how you can edit text in Linux background. So in text manipulation and file system module, we will give a hands-on training on nano text editor, how to create the links, and in Debian 8 and onwards, there are symbolic links. So that is pretty like shortcuts of shortcuts in Windows. So you will have a quite understanding of this section. Then comes to the module 5, pipes and filters. So that is one of the very basic of Linux, how you can input from one command to other commands. So that is also used in many software installation. And cron jobs. Cron jobs is very important in case of Koha, DSPs, and a few other softwares. So what happens in cron jobs is you are scheduling some jobs through your operating system. Like every 15 minutes, Koha will send a notification. So you can change the schedule of this type of jobs. Or like in DSpace, there is a cron jobs every week or every month we run a sitemap in DSP. So that is defined in cron jobs. That is not how we do it regularly. That is done by the operating system itself. So most of the case, we will show that how a cron jobs can be written and which file to edit in cron jobs. And finally, the network configuration. Network configuration is really very important, and that's why we kept it in the last session. Like after installing everything, you will have to configure a network. We will not talk about, we will not give a in-depth security, module on security comments, like how to secure your network and everything, but we will give a quite basic about the server system. So in the network security, you will be able, in the network module, you will be able to configure a network. So as one part of the network is securing through IP tables. So if you are having any continuous broadcasting event or anything, you can secure your network. And sometimes in some cases you will need to troubleshoot network. So that is a pretty much basic on network. So I hope you will, if you need any in-depth understanding, you will have an in-depth course on network. So that is all from my end. And after completion of the training happening in September 2020, you will be able to understand the basic commands of Linux and the file system and command line, knowledge of the Linux file hierarchy, create and user manage groups, identify the difference between root system and user accounts that is mostly given on the forums and instruction manual for installation, upgradation, or everything. Configure the network interfaces, manipulate any file, I will say, and manipulate cron files as needed. So that is all from me. I guess if you have any question.
Thank you very much. I'm not seeing any questions in the Q&A panel yet, but oh, here we go. Question is, I want to develop DSpace software. Will I get any help from the September training? I've already developed Koha software. And I will answer that DSpace is on the agenda for tomorrow, so there will be more discussion of that topic then. Let's see. Another question has come in that I think is about an earlier talk. And the question is whether SubjectsPlus covers all of the functionality of Koha or not. And the answer to that one is that Koha and SubjectsPlus complement one another. They each have separate functionality. Are there any Linux questions? Next question is, which operating system can accommodate almost all library technologies that we use in our libraries?
So on that note, I would say that if you use Debian or Ubuntu, now most of the instruction manuals was on Debian or any Linux-based platforms. Other than CentOS, Debian and Ubuntu are pretty similar. So you can use any of those.
Thank you. Next question is, what will the date of training in September be? And the details are still being developed. So please watch the training.viewfind.org website for announcements and news on all of the specifics. We're hoping to incorporate some of the feedback we get from this webinar into the planning. So we will have more soon. Next question, can we upgrade Ubuntu without disturbing Koha and DSpace?
As far as we have tried, we have tried on Debian 8 to 9. So in that case, what we have done is first we give a fresh OS. Then we try to, if we are not upgrading Koha, we will install a fresh Koha and restore the data. So that is from our end how we have processed the upgradation of operating system. I'm not sure if upgradation of Ubuntu will disturb Koha or not, but I guess there will be some different. You will have to install the new source packages in case of Koha and DSpace when you are upgrading Ubuntu. Other than upgrading your source packages in the operating system, you will not be able to upgrade the Koha or DSpace in the long run. So that is the answer from my end.
Yes, I would agree that it's always risky to do an operating system upgrade. So it might be worth a try, but back it up first and be prepared to have to reinstall and migrate data if it doesn't work. Which operating system is the most user-friendly for using library technology and can be repaired easily if it causes any trouble by users with average technology knowledge?
This is a very tricky question. I would prefer to know your background first before answering this question. So let me answer it like this. If you are from a librarian background or library professional background, I would say you use Ubuntu graphical interface based or Debian graphical interface based, because for the initial users, for the new users, the command line interface will be very difficult for you to understand. So for Ubuntu and Debian, both have a good graphical interface, so you can use those. And for troubleshooting, most of the times we use logs, and that is mostly based on command line. So you have to have a knowledge on command line also, even if you use Ubuntu graphical interface or Debian graphical interface.
Thank you very much. And with that, we seem to be finished with the questions. I would like to just take a moment to apologize to Sher Afzal Khan. We had some technical difficulties bringing him into the call, and I've been taking over Q&A in the interest of keeping things moving forward. But apologies again for the access difficulties there. Beyond that, I will turn it back over to Gina.
So that officially concludes the webinar for today. And as we typed in the chat box, the recording of the webinar will be available shortly after this two-day event has concluded on the VU Find website. If anybody has any questions, feel free to reach out to Damian Katz, demian.katz@villanova.edu, or Professor Mohan Raj Pradhan, pradmohan@gmail.com. So on behalf of the event organizers and speakers, I would like you to thank you for attending the training sessions today, and we will see you tomorrow.